the Aussie Game podcast, where we talk all things Australian football. Earlier tonight, we saw 22,398 fans in attendance to watch the Matildas beat Iran 4-0, with that being the biggest win of the Asian Cup tournament so far. But crucially, Korea Republic will head into the final game in the group with a superior goal difference, meaning the Matildas will need to beat them to top the group. Now, one of those 22,000 odd fans in attendance was Mopper. How was it, mate? What was it like at the stadium? A bit wet. What did it look like on TV?
It was a bit wet, but good evening, everyone, and great to get to the game tonight on the Gold Coast and see all the fans there enjoying the experience of the Matildas. Yeah, we play South Korea, who was our nemesis in the last Asia Cup, knocking us out in the quarter-final. We did take some revenge. We beat them 1-0 in a friendly last year in Sydney. So 37,000 seen that one. So hopefully we can continue that form. Obviously the goal difference, look, we've just got to win and keep building momentum, don't we? And that's what it's all about in this tournament. So I'm pretty confident that we can go to Sydney with a big crowd and knock South Korea off.
Yeah, let's hope so, mate. There's that game this Sunday, and unfortunately, we're both going to be there for that one. So I'm very excited to see the Matildas in action. Let's go to the starting lineup. Joe Montemurro made 5 changes. Courtney Nevin came in for Steph Catley. Charlie Rule came in for Winnie Heatley. Alana Kennedy into the midfield for Katrina Gorry. Amy Sayer for Claire Wheeler. And Mary Fowler came in for Hayley Razzo. So I was pleased to see some changes, not exactly the ones I expected, but as Joe mentioned in his pre-game interview, needs to rotate this squad, confident in the players that he's got. But we also saw a bit of a change in formation, didn't we? A bit more attacking from the group he put out tonight.
Yeah, there was no need to play 2 6s. So, just played the 1-6, which was Kennedy, which I think was a positive move. And you've seen that in their football, how direct that was. And, Kennedy had a fantastic game in the 6. He's been rotated between central defence and 6 in the last couple of years. And Joe really likes to put her in that number 6 role, which she's performed against New Zealand well. And tonight with 2 goals, which was a fantastic night for Alana Kennedy, and we know how strong she is in the air and defensively on the ground. But what was really good tonight was her passing and ability to speed up that transition football that was on show probably for about 60 to 65 minutes.
Yeah, the different to the Philippines game, the Iranian team definitely played with a little bit more intent than the Philippines did. Didn't really have a lot more success. Probably one little scuff shot on goal in that second half, but other than that, Chloe Lincoln pretty much nothing to do for the second game in a row. But look, it probably did provide the Matildas a little bit of a chance early on to move the ball quickly. I personally would have liked to see them move the ball a bit quicker, even throughout the whole game. The second half was very frustrating with a lot of stoppages in play, but the first half at least, even right from the get-go, that first minute where Caitlin Ford got fouled and we had that free kick on the edge of the box, there was certainly some more intent to play the ball forward, and I think it helps with the formation, but then also having the likes of Mary Fowler in the team too.
Mary Fowler's passing range was world class, and she's just coming back. Her ball movement and ability to play the ball forward and find space was just unbelievable. It was so good to see her play tonight, and she rotated around that right hand side and then come in and then picked it up in the channels. It was really impressive stuff. If this is what we're going to see, we're in for a treat. It was also good to see we're a bit more direct tonight, and Iran didn't really cover the space as well in defence as what Philippines did. They were a little bit open in the middle, and we found them out pretty quick, and that was because we didn't have those 2 sitting. We had one sitting, but the balls were direct, even from Charlie Rule and Hunt at the back. They were direct, they were diagonal, they were forward. It was really impressive, and it was a lot quicker. And we weren't going sideways as much. We were just intent of going forward, which just showed in the football tonight. Yeah, and the ability also too, I think was really key, is trying to play first time, and a one or two touch. I think that really sped it up even more and get in behind them, and it worked really well, and it was good football and good intent, like you said, on show tonight.
I think it's a good mix, isn't it, between what we're likely to face in terms of being able to play the ball on the deck and play through teams, or maybe even on the counter, and what we've faced against the Philippines and against Iran tonight. Because I think, yeah, we looked a lot better when we moved the ball quickly, but as you said, also play those balls forward. Let's just go to a bit of the action in the first half. Amy Sayer opened the scoring with her cross shot from the right wing, curled in with her left foot, which got us going. Sam Kerr then had an opportunity just 2 minutes later, but she couldn't take advantage of Emily Van Egmont's really nice ball. Tried to lob the keeper, but put it just over. And then Caitlin Ford, she had the ball in the back of the net, but was ruled out for offside. We didn't get any rub of the green with VAR tonight, did we? But they're all correct decisions, probably in the end. And then 27th minute, goal to Mary Fowler, scrambling at home on the back post after the keeper spilled a Caitlin Ford cross. Probably around that time, what I noticed is that we're getting a fair bit. Obviously, that second goal has come from a cross, but we started to see more crosses into the box, whether that was Fowler or Carpenter on that side or Nevin on the left. I think that was a change of focus for the Matildas from that point.
The key difference is it was early, much more earlier ball, much more direct early ball that we've seen tonight, and that was the difference. It was just quicker. It didn't matter where we were putting them in from diagonally. We weren't taking it to the line all the time. We were happy just outside that final third to diagonally put it in. And I think that caused a bit of chaos with that early ball because their team was a little bit separated rather than like we've seen with the Philippines where we were a little bit slower and a bit more condensed and it was easier to defend. So that tactic definitely worked tonight.
Yeah, it certainly did. Yeah, there's definitely that intent to start doing that from around that period. It was probably on one of those stoppages in play. I don't know if there was a message from the sideline around that. The 35th minute, Alana Kennedy benefits from a nice Sam Kerr layoff, a strike home from inside the box, the first of her two for the night. And then we almost were up 4-0 at half time. Sam Kerr, after being played in, scooped the ball over the keeper or flicked it past, but ruled out for the narrowest of offsides, unfortunately. So 3-0 into the break. A couple of minutes after the restart, Matilda's awarded a penalty, but overturned by VAR. Probably the correct decision again. And then the last goal of the night, 58th minute, Alana Kennedy gets a second. Very nice ball from Emily Van Egmond. Placed it up there perfectly for Alana Kennedy to nod home. So 4-0. And then we saw, yeah, the rest of the game, lots of stoppages, substitutions, broke up the momentum, few chances, but couldn't get that decisive fifth goal, unfortunately.
Yeah, the continuity wasn't right with the substitutions, was it? And it was probably not their fault. It was just a break in play. The injuries, the time delays of Iran as they got through the game really didn't allow the substitutes to have an impact. It was stop start, like you said, and what didn't allow us to play our football. But we weren't smart with the ball either. So that's a lesson they'll have to learn as well with the substitution because we want to see subs come on and make an impact, and probably they'd be probably a little bit disappointed, although it was difficult conditions to try to break the momentum of that stop-start situation that would happened in that second half, especially. But I think what we've seen from the players that the original changes were good. The football was a lot better. It was good to see Charlie Rule get obviously a start there too, which is brilliant. Courtney Nevin, natural left fullback. It was good to see her timing come in. And like we said, Sayer was really impressive tonight. Her movement was unreal, created a lot of problems. Her intent was fantastic. And it was good to see her, really try to command that midfield. And I think when Fowler was on and Sayer was there, that those two were linking up quite nicely. So, look, a lot to take out of it, a lot more positives to take out of it. I know the second half was a bit of a challenge, but, we're going to have to deal with those situations and those substitutions, although a bit mixed. When you take off the blue chip players, They need that playmaker in there to guide them around. That's what probably only lacked. I was a bit surprised actually that Michelle Heyman didn't come on, because if we're doing the target, Sam Kerr was a bit of a target up front. I was a bit surprised he didn't put Michelle Heyman up front and then allow McNamara to come off her. I thought that would have been a bit of a smarter move, but it didn't end up, and we haven't seen Michelle Heyman yet. So I was a bit surprised by that tactic that he didn't use Michelle Heyman in this situation. I think it would have been a little bit more balanced to the group.
Yeah, we actually did see Heyman for the last minute. She did come on as a concussion substitution for Hayley Razzo. I'll get to Razzo in just a moment. But yeah, look, as far as the substitutions, Ford and Kerr obviously started that other game in Perth, and then Fowler obviously still returning back from her injury. I was just wanting to get your opinion, mate, because obviously you've been at both the games and in the conditions. Looked very humid up there tonight, and I assume it was pretty hot over in Perth, and just how we're navigating our way through this tournament. The other thing I just wanted to note as well, I said in the opener that this is the biggest win of the tournament. No teams have really like blown some of the weaker opposition away. So maybe some of the more fancy teams are just kind of building into the tournament as well.
Yeah, look, you're definitely right about the conditions. You got to self-manage, don't you? It is March, it is autumn, but it's still quite humid in and hotter in the Perth and the Gold Coast. You are talking about some of the hottest states that we have. I think also too the ability and the standard is a lot higher in Asia than compared to where it was 4 to 8 years ago. More tactically, there's better coaching, systems are better. You can see that coming through. So you're not seeing the blowouts. You're definitely right about the top two teams as well, probably top three teams. They are just managing their way through at the moment. And it's probably due to the conditions that, look, the humidity didn't help in the Gold Coast for the pitch more than anything, because it rained just as we were about to kick off, which made the conditions even worse. The ground was cut pretty low, so it was pretty slippery out there. But Seabus is renowned for that when it is humid and it does rain. So I think it's a combination, of all three of those points that are probably the reason why teams aren't being blown away. Because remember, we've only got 12 teams. You know what I mean? It's not like a normal standard 16 or 24. So you have got the best in Asia that we can possibly have. So you're probably not seeing the massive gap of what it was 4 to 8 years ago. The women's game has grown a lot in that time.
Yeah, well, as you said, with the win, we're into the quarterfinals guaranteed now, and it's just about if we're going to finish first or second in the group. First is a bit of an easier path on paper, but even second, I think we should be able to manage our way through that quarterfinal. And then, from the semi-final stage onwards, you're always going to get a pretty good opposition. But just want to touch on Hayley Razzo. She unfortunately copped 2 balls to the face tonight. I thought she might have actually gone off after the first one, the way that her kind of knees buckled under her. Looked like she was kind of out even before she hit the ground, but definitely after the second one, she was taken off through that concussion protocol, but puts her in under serious threat for being available for Sunday night, doesn't it? And that'll be a big loss for the Matildas, whether that would have been a start for her or an impact off the bench.
Yeah, look, I'd say 7-day protocol, wouldn't it be? It normally is just to be assessed. So yeah, you're probably looking at quarterfinal at best for that one, depending on how she comes through. Wasn't a good scene. You're right. She probably should have been taken off first time. If that just, I know her mentality though would have been to get back on.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, that's where the medical team need to probably just jump in. But again, that it's hard to tell, isn't it? Football, you don't see it as much in football as what you do in the other codes. So look, on the right-hand side, you've seen a little bit of Mary Fowler in the first half, and she didn't look out of place. And it's probably not a bad space to put her, away from that physical contact and the ball in the middle and let her guide into the game. I think that's probably an option. You've also can push Carpenter on. There's plenty of options there. So, look, it's a deep squad, and so I'm pretty confident we'll be able to cover it. Quarterfinal X Factor, semi-final X Factor, I'm sure you'll see her back.
I think one of the good things about Fowler, and I know you were impressed with her tonight too, but when she cuts back in. She's so two-footed that, her passing, whether that's across the far post or cutting that ball to Kerr's feet as she did at a time when Kerr's shot got blocked. But even when she was lining up for that free kick in the first minute of the game, and Van Egmond had the right foot option and Fowler was standing over on the left, but I don't think it would have mattered which foot she would have hit it with. She's just such a talented player and just such an X factor, isn't she? So, maybe, as you said, maybe it's a smart move playing her off that right, a bit out of the action. And I just think when we are going to play against Korea Republic, obviously they've got the advantage of finishing or being top of the group currently, so they can play for a draw. But you'd expect them to play a bit more and it'll open up the field, which I think will help the Matildas in the way they want to play.
Oh, definitely. And look, Fowler's ability, it's interesting watching tonight and in Perth how they take up, the wingers take up those inside positions and allow Carpenter and Nevin or Carpenter and Catley to bomb on, and then they reverse them, and then they go out wide and allow Carpenter and Nevin to come into those channels and try to play that quick 1-2. So yeah, Joe loves that. I even seen Fowler on the left hand side and Caitlin Forbes on the right hand side. So that Joe loves that type of football where he's just moving people around. So to allow Fowler that freedom, they'll find her with the ball because we're too good with the ball not to, and she'll do the rest. And you see, I point out in the 14th minute that connection was a great ball through. I think it was Hunt, and Charlie Rule did one later in the game too. That diagonal
Yeah,
ball
that's
that
a nice
cut.
one too.
Yeah, it was beautiful, and just the ability to find feet and first time was just fantastic. It was a shame it was just offside, but that Kerr's finish as well was probably the highlight for me, and just shows the signs where we're heading in that direction with our football. If we can play that type of quick ball movement, which really works.
Yeah. Going into this game against Korea Republic, I think we're going to be forced to put out our strongest team. So I think you'll get a bit of a mix of the Philippines and a bit of a mix of what we saw against Iran tonight. So all to look forward to this Sunday. And yeah, we look forward to seeing how everyone recovers from this game and the big build up to Sunday night out at Sydney. So looking forward to getting out there and seeing that one.
Yeah, shorter trip too. Obviously they've flown over from Perth 3.5, 4 hours. So yeah, and plus probably they've probably got direct flight. Yeah, so it would have been only 1 hour to Sydney, a little bit more time in camp. You would have seen that the first 60 minutes, how much time, a bit better prepared, a bit more balanced. So we're building nicely. And yeah, no, the Matildas are in good space, and well done to the Gold Coast who provided a good crowd there tonight, 22,000 I think it was. And they've seen a good performance by the Matildas, just a little bit disappointing in the back half, but they're little things that we can work on as we move forward through this tournament. And I've got no doubt we'll go down to Sydney with a huge crowd and beat Korea. And I think they'll probably break the record. I think against Korea wouldn't surprise me. We've seen the record get beat crowd-wise in Perth, and I think Sydney will topple that again and create the biggest crowd in Asia Cup history. So I think it's a good positive sign as the Matildas move in and the momentum grows as we move towards, the big ones.
All right, thanks, mate. Let's just touch on a few other things that have happened since we recorded on Sunday night. Let's go to Sunday night into Monday morning. Geordie Boss again started high on the left for Feyenoord, playing 62 minutes, but his side go down 2-0 to Twente in the Eredivisie. Randers picked up a 2-1 win over Copenhagen with Paul Izzo in goals and Musa Toure getting 31 minutes off the bench. Just about a full game for Jacob Italiano, who looked like he played in a more advanced position on the right for Grazer AK, with his side picking up a 2-1 win over Riyadh. They're definitely picking up some points after a shocking start to the season, so that's fantastic to see. Nick Montgomery's Beijing Guan get the better of Kevin Muscat's Shanghai Port with a 2-0 win in the Chinese Super Cup. Jason Guerrier plays a full game for Alberix Nagata as they win 2-0 over FC Imabari in Japan. And also 83 minutes for Aidan O'Neill in New York City's 2-1 win over Philadelphia, with Kai Truen getting 7 minutes off the bench. And Kai Rolls plays a full game as DC United lose 1-0 to Austin. Geez, I hope DC United have a better season than they did last season. Well, they've already got one win on the board. They've ticked that one off, but let's hope for some more for Kai Rolls and his teammates.
Yeah, they had a very disappointing year, didn't they? Lucky there's no relegation over there. All right, let's move on to Tuesday and important game of the championship. Who's just announced too next year that their playoff system's changed from 3 or 4 teams to six. Six, I think it's 5 or 6 teams next year. So,
No, six, yeah, 4 to 6.
yeah,
Yeah.
4 to 6. So, wow, that'll be exciting. I'm sure we've seen a lot of Aussies in the championship, so I think that's good news for them. Let's go to our Middlesbrough team that we've been following in the promotion, fighting places in second. They pick up a vital win in their hopes of promotion to the Premier League with a 3-1 win over Birmingham. Birmingham's been going very well this year in the championship, and Riley McGree starts and plays 74 minutes in a really good performance. So that was a really good win for Borough, and it keeps them in second place and just keeps that space away from Ipswich, who are really right down their neck. They've lost a little bit of touch with Coventry, but they're still in a great spot. Let's move on to Giuseppe Bavellini, who played 56 minutes for Robo, who go down 5-3 to Hammarby in a cup game in Sweden. Sorry about that. And then let's move back home, and we had Melbourne City versus Borough in the Asian Champions League, and what an important game this was for many reasons. Obviously, it's round of 16, the Asian Champions League, but I'll get to the other key point that's hot on the lips of all Australians. And Melbourne City showed their vulnerability and resilience as they claw to a draw in their crucial first leg round in round of 16 Asian Champions League contest in a game that means a lot for the A-League itself as well as clubs in Australia. It was the Thai champions that were in red-hot form, and confidence was high as they took the lead in the first half through a great play from Kingsley Schneider, setting up Pizzoli and a great finish from Pizzoli. The Brazilian striker is in great form, and they were up 1-0. But credit to City, they hung in there, and Mazzeo struck in a dramatic 95-minute equaliser for City, with none other than the man himself, Yunus, providing the assist and setting up a cracking second leg.
He is on fire at the moment. Unbelievable.
Can you imagine if he wasn't there for City and the month that they've had? It's just been, that would have been a shambles.
Did he put the one on the platter for Arzani that he missed too?
Yes, he did. I'm pretty sure he did, but it was it was offside, and then shocking finish. But anyway, he's just out of touch, isn't he, Zani? But anyway, back to that one. It was an even game when we look at it. Deserved probably no more than a draw from both sides. They share the stats and the contest. But Chief, the question I've got for you in the game is, this game means so much more with rankings in Asia, as the rankings have now really closed right up with China not having any teams in Asian Champions League or Champions League 2. So if City win, does this mean that we push into the top 8?
Yeah, I think I'm pretty sure I saw something that if they won the other night, as in just got the win, we would have enough points to have the extra team qualifier in the 27-28 campaign. All the rankings already done for next season as far as I know. But yeah, I think this would push us up past China into that 4th spot in the East, which would be fantastic. It would mean we'd get some extra spots, and obviously, we've got 12-team competition, but with 2 New Zealand teams, that's 10 teams. So 3 of 10 Australian-based teams potentially make it into Asia every season would be absolutely amazing. So let's hope that Melbourne City can get the win away to Burrum in the second leg. And from what I read, and maybe I'll qualify that before we meet on Sunday, but I think that means that we get the extra spot for 27-28, or at least we're into that bracket, so which would be awesome.
No A-League for Melbourne City. They're travelling straight over to Thailand for this one, so that's a bonus. And obviously, but Burrum, they look a much better side than when I first seen them when they were over here last, when we beat them 2-1 in the final minute as well. It isn't amazing that City have scored now. That's their 5th time they've scored in the 90th minute plus in the Asian Champions League. That's an extraordinary stat. So just thought I'd share that one with you. All right, mate, we move on to Wednesday. Dundee United beat St Mirren 2-1 to keep their hopes of making the top 6 cut off alive, although it's looking unlikely, but there's still a chance. Ashley Maynard-Brewer was in goal, while Zach Sabser got 21 minutes off the bench. Good to see Kino Bacchus back in the last few weeks. Also played a full game for St Mirren, so straight back into it. That's really good news for the Socceroos player that had a horrific injury there, put him out for a couple of months after they won the cup. Graham Cole starts for Sparta Prague in a 4-2 quarter-final cup loss. And Kiwi Ben Waine scores a winner for Port Vale in a very important FA Cup fourth round, beating Bristol City 1-0 after extra time. Joe Gauci plays at the 120 minutes in goals, making crucial 2 saves. They will now play Sunderland this week in the 5th round. What a story that would be for Port Vale. They're last in League One. This is with the magic of the FA Cup, isn't it? When I seen them against Bristol City, I thought they would have just been. Bristol City loves the cup as well. They've had a couple of years of good runs too, but Port Vale taking over, and now, what a chance to play Premier League side Sunderland, who's in great form this weekend.
What a scalp that would be to take for Joe and Ben, and obviously our Aussie coach over there as well. Yeah,
Yep.
big contest against an in-form Sunderland, who are surprising plenty in the Premier League.
Maybe they should save the wins for League One so they survive. But
I think
anyway,
that's gone already, mate. I think it's too late.
Okay. We'll keep our hope alive.
Yeah, let's go to Wednesday night. What about this, mate? The Mariners, 7 matches unbeaten, into the top 6 following a 3-1 win over the MacArthur Bulls, who have won just once in their past 9 league games. And of course, throw into the mix of that, their 2 ACL 2 games that they can only manage to lose and draw. So 1 out of their past 11 games in total that they've won. So not a very good reading for the MacArthur Bulls, but for the Central Coast Mariners, who have been written off by plenty of people, including us, mate. We had them coming last, both of us, and there they are. I mean, 6th spot in the A League, absolutely incredible. So they're certainly riding the wave of momentum. I've said before, I think their recruitment in January has been fantastic. Their attacking weapons that they've got there now with Laval, Orgla, Blair, Sabit Newell was already there, but just bringing on Blair and Newell last night was just unbelievable. They're just MacArthur were kind of on their knees, and you bring on those weapons with their speed and their power and their directness. Yeah, it's fantastic. But let's run through the game. I'm getting ahead of myself. So, 3-1 win for the Mariners over MacArthur. So in the first half, it was on MacArthur until the Mariners won a penalty late in the first half, converted by Alfie McCalman. The Bulls also started the second half really well, but it's been their Achilles heel, at least for the past month or so. They just cannot put the ball away in front of goal, create plenty of chances. But yeah, it doesn't matter who it falls to. They just can't seem to get the ball in the back of the net. But yeah, following that nice period of the second half, there was this crazy 12-minute period between the 65th and 77th minute. Bailey Brantman took a strike on goal, which was deflected in by Christian Popovich. Anthony Caceres then got one back for the Bulls just 2 minutes later with a very nice strike from outside the box hitting the top corner. Andrew Redmayne had no chance in that one. Just 1 minute later, though, Tommy Uscock was sent off for a late challenge on Nathaniel Blair. And then 9 minutes after that, Bulls goalkeeper Alex Robinson was sent off for denying an obvious goal-scoring opportunity. So, yeah, it was a really crazy period. But, yeah, the Bulls making the changes in the match with 4 of the starting 11, obviously with their 5 substitutes and the 2 send-offs. So Nathaniel Blair sealed the game with a nice opportunistic volley to round out the scoring. But what a result for the Mariners. They were completely dominated for the first probably about 60 minutes, but still managed to somehow be up 2-0 around that mark. And then the Bulls descended into a bit of chaos with the 2 red cards. So, yeah, unbelievable. Mariners sitting in the top 6.
I'm convinced the Mariners do this strategically to throw everyone off. I swear to God. Let's start with the MacArthur first. When we did the half-yearly review, they were third, and they signed Duke, and they had the A-League afforded them the Asian Champions League to draw, so no interference. They just had a straight 2-game shootout. What an extraordinary fall from grace. It's stunning, isn't it? Like, I know you talked about the finishing, but the mentality has just completely fallen off. And now they're out of the six. It's just unbelievable. And I suppose we shouldn't be surprised with the A-League the way it's gone this year, but I just cannot believe Macarthur with the strength of their squad. They're rattled, and geez, what an impact that's had. And now they're outside the six, and the season's starting to look like a write-off. But look, anything can happen. But yeah, look, on the Mariners, honestly, Warren Moon and Mark Milligan, if you could share the coach of the year, just give it to them now, because especially Warren Moon, I don't want to discount the fantastic job Mark Milligan's done, but what is Warren Moon? Look what he's had to face. I think he got there 3 days before the season kickoff, did he not? Under all that turmoil, and there was a point where the Mariners, I remember before Christmas, they interviewed Redmayne and just looked shot, and it looked all but gone. It looked like it was just going to go from bad to worse. And now to put this run on again, that it's just something in that club that spirit, that culture that they have, that mentality wise, to be able to ride that rough period and now sit in the top six. That's an extraordinary effort. I know they've won titles and all that before, but this season has to be one of the highlights for me. Just the amount of resilience that they've had to face. I know they've had to face resilience before, but not this much turmoil. And every club and member and owner and player should be extremely proud of where they're sitting right now. It's a fantastic story.
I think you nailed it there when you said riding the rough period, because I think that's key to this run of games that they're on now. Because, as you said, around that time when Redmayne was interviewed post match, he was absolutely lost for words as to what to say. But the ability of Warren Moon to keep these guys going and keep them positive and keep them putting in all this effort, and you see in a lot of these games, and I watched them live against the Jets last weekend, obviously, and it's just the passion that they have, and they tend to. How many games have we seen them win really late? They
Yeah.
got over the Wanderers, they got over the Newcastle Jets, first game of the season. But it's just their ability to hang in the games and be there right at the end in a position to win them. And now, as I said, with their ability to now bring these attacking weapons off the bench to go against tiring teams, I think, they're doing really well. And look, it may keep going on. Who knows what they can actually do at the back end of the season. I just want to touch quickly on MacArthur, because I remember them mentioning this in the commentary last night. But their next 5 games, they are away to Melbourne Victory, they're away to Auckland, then they're home to the Newcastle Jets, they then travel away to Perth, and then they travel away to Adelaide United. So they've got 4 of the current top 5 and a trip away to Perth. Like,
Yeah.
it just doesn't get any easier, does it?
Yeah, maybe going away might help them. I don't know. The quality is there. There's so much quality in this squad. The depth, it's extraordinary. It's just a confidence thing, isn't it? And Miller is going to have to try to find that, because they have the ability. They're definitely, if you play them, they're dangerous. But at the moment, I think it's all mental. It'll be interesting to see if they can bounce back, or maybe Asia scarred them, and they just can't seem to rebound. But anyway, only time will tell. Look, we've said many things on the A-League, and it's gone completely the opposite way to script, hasn't it? So they'll probably nearly win every game the next 5 games now after that one.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's go to Thursday. In Switzerland, Sion go down 2-1 away to Lugano, with Liam Chipperfield coming on as a second half substitute, playing 31 minutes. In Croatia, Anthony Kalic was a second half substitute in the Croatian Cup quarterfinal, as Hajduk Split get knocked out 3-2 by Rijeka. Just want to finish off this podcast, mate, by touching on a few key injuries that have come up in the past couple of days. The first one to Arieth Piol, when it was announced he'll miss the remainder of the MLS season with Real Salt Lake after rupturing his Achilles. So terrible luck for Arieth. He just got his goal for Real Salt Lake last weekend, and this potentially was a nice little breakout season if you could get a consistent run of games. So I feel really bad for REFPL that he's not going to be able to push on in the MLS this season, but hopefully a speedy recovery for him. And then just domestically, Nick D'Agostino and Chris Long for the Brisbane Roar, they're both out for 6 weeks, which will make the Roars run in really tough. And a big miss for Sydney FC, although he has been missing for large chunks of the season already. But Joe Lolly, 4 to 6 weeks out with syndesmosis injury as well. So, yeah, a key out for the Sky Blues as well. So, some big injuries there, mate.
Yeah, look, Brisbane, geez, that's a knife edge. I know D'Agostino struggled for a while now with injuries. That will hurt his World Cup chances as well. Chris Long just hasn't been able to get the ground running. And, yeah, Joe Lolly just adds the X factor, doesn't he, to Sydney? What about Pure? What a devastating news that is. We've seen a couple of young players go down this year, haven't we? It's just part of football, in injuries, but they're such serious ones. Well, we wish them all the best anyway, and a speedy recovery for all those lads that we mentioned. So, yeah, all the best with their health.
It is interesting with Piol, and we have seen it a lot with our young players going over to Europe in particular, but they do seem to get injured quite a bit when they go over there. So, question for another day, but interesting the number of games and the high intensity training and the change that it is from playing over here in the A League to then going over to these other leagues and how they adapt to it.
Yeah, it's a preparation thing, isn't it? Oh, well, potentially yes and no, but yeah, it could be some. We have the 27 games. We talk about it a lot. Yeah, it's hard. Like we talked about, Segacic was the biggest one. He said, he's gone from playing 5 months of the year to playing 2 games a week every week non-stop, or 2 or 3 games. So yeah, it doubled the workload. So and body's just not used to it. So yeah, they're going to have to. I suppose that's an extra thing to think about when you make the move. It's a good that they're moving, but yeah, you've got to make sure that body's right. And yeah, maybe a little bit more thought process maybe is needed, but we can talk about that another day.
Yeah, I also saw Hayden Eames linked to a few Premier League clubs as well: Arsenal, Liverpool, Newcastle United. I don't want to see him go to one of those bigger clubs. I want to see him work his way through the system. I just feel like we've seen too many players trot that path before and get lost in the system. But yeah, for an exciting young talent, I just want to make sure he makes the right move.
Yeah, look, it's an experience, isn't it? When those clubs come knocking, and we've seen some good young players go over, but just never hear from them for a long time. But look, great risk or reward. The talent's there, we know that, but it's the big decision now, isn't it? Like, where do I want to develop my football? And we really need clubs like, you got to look who actually breeds young players. Twente probably reminds me of something in Holland. They play youth. You need teams who play youth. You don't want to go over there just to train and under 21s and under 18s. It's just not what it's a backward step. But I know the whole aura of playing for one of those clubs. But you know, you look at some of the players that get sold out, like Liverpool, Harvey Elliott, and all them. You know, who's that player plays for Fulham that went there as well? Harry, what's his name?
Harry Wilson.
Harry Wilson. Like, you see all that, they just get sold off. It's 0.5% make it in the 11, don't they? It's a huge risk or reward. But I guess it's great that he's getting recognition. But those big clubs, you very rarely see young talent. They're more normally used as a chip bargain, really, in the end, to develop homegrown talent and sell them off. But that's probably a story I'd like to see. Look, if he wants to really move, yeah, again, probably I like Holland's system, for football, but that's just a personal choice for me. But again, we've seen Teague move to Belgium, hasn't worked out. How many players have we seen that just, they're back here anyway? So I don't know what's wrong with another 12 months and you get to 18 and build your body up and then go over. we've seen plenty of success stories like Aaron Moy, who waited later on and still had a fantastic career. So I think is it the money talking? Is it the agents? I don't know. But what do you really want out of your football? I get that's the big question. But unfortunately, it's too big of a carrot to dangle, isn't it? To knock them back.
Yeah, he's still got 12 months or a bit over 12 months to run on his contract. So, he might run it down and go on a free or we may see him move early. But, I mean, good
At least
good
he's
for
under contract.
yeah, yeah, but good for a talented young player to be, even if they are just rumors to be have these big clubs interested in him. It shows what some of these other big clubs around the world might think of him. So yeah, that's fantastic for young Haynes. All right, mate.
Definitely.
That might do us for tonight. It was good to watch the Matildas get that 4-0 win, and we'll be cheering them on Sunday as well. Not sure what the Sunday pod's going to look like, mate, because we're both going to be at the stadium, but we'll figure it out, and we'll get a reaction to the Matildas game in Sydney out there, as well as wrap up everything else that's going on in football with an Australian angle. So, yeah, have a good week, mate. Have a good rest of your week. Hope everyone enjoys their football, and we'll be back on Sunday.
Yeah, go the Matildas. They're building nicely, and look forward to seeing everyone in Sydney.